NESGameMaker. Today we are going to be putting in our save as select room that we created last time. So let's get cracking on this. Now I'm going to bring over here my Zelda 2 tutorial. Wrong, there it is. And we're going to take a look over at the room as completed. We have our instance layer with our save cursor. We have a background with the actual background image, and our background, which is just the standard black background. So we're going to be putting all this together in our own room here. Let's get this over here and come on down. Create a asset layer. Background underscore assets. There we go. So what we're going to do here to start is set this to 8x8 for ease of use. Come on down to your sprites, titles and main sprites, and grab the sprite save underscore select background and drag it over here to 08. And oh wait, actually don't close the room yet because we still have to create the cursor object. Room save select. I'm going to go over here, create group, menu objects, and in that we're going to create an object. So j underscore save underscore select underscore cursor. Come back to you, give you a sprite, title, another sprite. There we go. And drag you into the instance layer and put you next to the link there. All right. So there we go. We're also going to need to create a step and a draw event. So with this object here, it's going to serve a couple different purposes. Namely, it's going to serve as our save loader, and secondly, it's going to serve as our our menu indicator. So you know, on some games the text will light up to show where you are in the menu. In this case, we're going to move around the fairy icon to show the people where they are in the menu. They'll move up. So we're going to have index position 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And when we move around, we are going to need, let me pull up the code there. There it is. When we move it around, we are going to need to have a little bit of information stored for how to move around our cursor. So first off, we're going to need menu info, our index position, and we're going to start off with index position 4. So it actually starts right here. Why are we starting at index position 4? Well, it's going to be because of how our menu underscore wrap method is going to be working. Now, this method here is something we're creating. Put it in. And what it will do for us is it will move our index position around. So we have index underscore is equal to wrap plus index between 0 and 4. What does wrap do? Well, it's just a little math function for moving a value between the top and the bottom values given to it. So index, if it's currently at 4, plus here will make it 5, then it will be passed into this function. And the function will say, oh, well, index is at 5. 5 is outside of the 0 to 4 range. So therefore, I must wrap it back to 0. Right? Convenient. Great. Perfect. Secondly, we're going to have some information here about our various file saves that are going to be set up here. So var underscore exists1 is equal to if file exists, Legend of Zelda 2 underscore save 1 dot save. So if the file associated here with position 0 exists, exists 2, exists 3, same for all these. position 2, position 3. And we see if no file exists, then we want our file position to be forced to 3. So we want to be forced to the register your name position if there are no existing files. Then, if all of the files are currently in use and we're in position 3, so if we're here, we tried to move to here, but all the files are full, so we can't register a new name, force us to move to number 4. So we can't be in position number 3. Then finally, our if file doesn't exist and we're at this slot, move us onto the next slot. So if file 0 doesn't exist, file 1 doesn't exist, and file 2 exists, and we were at 4 and now we're up to 5, so it wraps it back down to 0. Then it comes down to here and says, oh, well, there's nothing at 0, so therefore move me back to 1. Then it says, oh, there's nothing at 1, so move me on to 2. And it says, oh, there is something at 2, so we don't move from there. So what are these file names here we got going? So we're using file exists like we did over here with our music manager when checking for our text files for our any file. And what we can do here is, excuse me, we need to go down to, yes, we need to actually get to the meat and potatoes of this entire system here. Our pound region save load. Because our object here is going to load our saves for us. So we need to define some information. Global.current underscore save underscore data is equal to undefined. And I'm actually going to move this down over to my defaults file. And you can see I already have it here. That's because of a little bit of a goof up earlier. And just save it into, copy and paste it into there. And that will let you, make it so that we can check if the save file exists before we actually load the save files, so we can actually tell stuff that is checking for save file existence to not check for a save file when there isn't one there. So it's useful for me because I need it for some stuff that later on in debug tools that I put into the game that aren't, that I'm not going to bother with putting in for you guys. So yeah. And we're going to do a save 1 underscore is equal to undefined. Undefined. There we go. Today is 2, 3, 2, 3. That's our save information. Bar underscore save underscore name 1 is equal to Legend of Zelda 2 underscore save 1 dot save. Same as right here. And these are going to be the save file names. So 2, come to 3, 2, and 3. When the GameMaker saves stuff, it saves it into the working directory, which is a app data local position where it saves all the information to. And actually, I would prefer it if I could somehow change it to save over into my documents as something instead of over in the app data, which is actually a hidden file location. It's like, okay, well, that makes it hard for players to copy and back up their saves if they need to. But yeah, well, that's something for you guys to think about in the future, I guess. It's not really important at this time. So that's where it'll save these things to, but it needs a name for how it's going to save it to start off with. So let's do if file underscore exists underscore save underscore name 1. And save 1 underscore is equal to load underscore game or save underscore name 1. And again, or lastly, I should save here because this is the last time we're doing it. 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3. Great. So if your file exists, then we are going to load that game. What is load game? Load game is a custom buffer, same as save game, but for loading. And we are going to load our game here based on the file name. We're going to use the buffer functions. And what we're doing here is basically we're blasting the file that we give it into memory as one big fat chunk of data that doesn't keep formatting or anything. It just takes it all. But luckily, because we've also used buffer saving, which we'll get around to in another episode, that basically condenses everything down into one long string in the first place anyways, it doesn't matter if it's all unformatted because we can restore it very easily. So we buffer load, which is we blast all the information from the file name into memory. Then we create a string, and we say buffer read from that buffer as a string. And we take all the data out of it into a string that we can use in the game. Then we delete the buffer because remember this is a data structure, so like a DS map or something. You have to remember to delete it. Then we say load data is equal to JSON parse underscore string. So what we do here is with JSON parse takes all the information that is in one big long string and turns it into variables. It basically turns it into a struct at that point where you can then start saying underscore load underscore data dot name is equal to whatever, and if underscore load underscore data dot HP is less than 0, die. Something like that. So yeah, that's what you can do with it at that point. Then we return the ID of the information created by parsing the, we return the data that was the struct that was, we return the struct that was created with JSON parse here. And that is what is used over in these, that is what is stored over in these save name 1, 2, and 3 file information bits. And I'll get to those in just a minute. When we start drawing, I'll show you how to use them to get information. First, we need to come over to our step event because we want to be able to do some menu wrapping, right? So whenever we press select on our control pad, then that will cause a menu to wrap. So move forward by 1, and of course play our menu select noise. Very simple, right? Next up isn't quite as simple, but it's still basically pretty simple at the same time. If input pressed, 0 input action dot start. So if we press start, use the value of our current index to determine what we're going to do. So if we're at position 0, 1, or 2, which are the save files, set our current save data global to the value at that position, and move on to the next room, the live display room. So make sure you make this room here 256 by 240. Same thing for this. We're also going to need a room save create and room save delete, all of which are the same thing. That doesn't matter. In fact, even this doesn't matter. All these, basically any value over 10 is basically instantaneous at that point. So, you know, it moves us instantaneously from one room to the other. So we don't have any, so there isn't any transition between when we edit our save data or anything. So next up, yeah, I think it's all good, right? We're just moving to room save create, room save delete, and setting our data and moving over to rooms live display. Great. So finally, last but not least, we're going to go to our draw event and draw my icon. This is a very important code here, so watch it. And And you might be wondering what's so important about it. Well, it's this little bit right here, 24 times index. This is very important to remember how to use because you're going to use this anytime you do a for loop or something for drawing UI elements. And basically what it does here is anytime the index value has changed, it adds an extra 24 to my position. So at index position 0, we're just drawing at Y position. At 1, we're adding at 24. 2, we're drawing at 48. 3, we're drawing at plus 64, and so on and so forth. Then we go on to this one. Draw underscore set underscore font underscore ext. Global dot font. FA underscore left. FA underscore top. C underscore white and white. You might be wondering, okay, what we're doing here this year. Well, remember your font can change at any time because you might be using it to draw a different UI element, or it might be drawing. You might be using a different font to draw a name. Then you might use a different font to draw the text for the name, and so on and so forth. So always remember to update your font whenever you're drawing a font. So that's fairly important to remember. You might say the same thing about here. So this is actually a collection of various functions that are already built in the GameMaker, just combines them all into one easy to use string get, right? So draw set font underscore ext is one of the common library functions. Then we go down over to here. Where are you at? Okay. Save one. So what we're doing here is we're setting up our ability to draw our save room. So we have our guy right there, cursor moving around. But we have information we need to fill in. We need to fill in a player's name. We need to fill in their death count. We need to fill in their current HP and whatnot levels. So what we're going to do is draw our saves. So if save 1 does not equal undefined, so if we have save and save 1, we draw at x start plus 24, y start minus 16, save 1, player defined file name. So this is how you access data from the save, and you're going to do the same thing when you actually use the global version as well. We just do global.current save data dot player defined file name. And for some reason, I'm using X start and Y start. I could have just used XY because that's not changing at any point during this, but you know, that's what I set it up as, I guess, for some reason. So var underscore string 1 is equal to string save 1.des. So we get our number of des. We have like 5 des, get 5. And then we have this important bit of code. Keep this up because this is very useful to know about. String repeat 0, 3 minus string length 1 plus string. This adds trailing zeros to our string. So this turns our 5 des into 005 des. Then draw underscore text, x start plus 40, y start minus 8, underscore string 2, draw our des. That'll draw it right down there. And yeah, remember this draws our file name right there. Then we have this little bit, save attack level plus 1. That'll draw our attack level right there. Why is there a plus 1? Well, it's because to make it easier to work with when you're determining damage multipliers and damage reduction multipliers and stuff, the values of the attack level and stuff I decided would be 0 indexed. So when you have a attack level of 0, you get no bonus to your attack damage, right? That makes sense. Good. So yeah, but if you want to draw it, then you want to add plus 1. So it says your attack level is 1, but in all reality, your attack level is 0. That's how it works. So yeah, and then when your attack level is 7, which is the maximum, it would display as 8. So that'll be useful for in the future as well. So that'll get us all of our information. Then we do the same thing 2 more times, just like with the create event. Boom. copy and paste it all and change the save file name. In fact, you could have just could have used some sort of local variable to like var underscore save is equal to save one underscore, then use save and all these things, and you wouldn't actually have to. Then you would just change save before you get to each point, and it would be the same thing, Anyways, I'm just rambling. I'm just thinking about different ways you could possibly make this better, but or not necessarily better, just less verbose. Anyways, I think that's about everything here. Let's give it a test run. All right, title screen. Let's press start, and there we go. And I'm pressing select, and as you can see, the menu wrapping works properly. We have no save files, so we are fixed to position 3. And if I hit, if I hit enter, register your name, it takes me over to the name registration room, which is where we will be going next time. So before we go, I would like to thank our Patreon sponsors now that I finally have come up with a interesting way to do so. By the way, there's a legacy Patreon sponsors section, which is for all the people who signed up for the Patreon between season 3 and season 4, so that they all get their opportunity to have their names read as well. And then, of course, our current Patreon sponsors section as well. So, make sure if you want to get in on this, sign up for the Patreon, links below or at the end screen. And, let's give this a try here, see how well it works. I'd like to thank my legacy Patreon sponsors, James Burton, JD Lowe, Suli, and Vazia. I'd also like to thank my current Patreon sponsors, Kenneth Klein and Vladimir. Your support helps the NESGameMaker be made and to continue to grow. And I hope that you all continue to have good luck with your programming.